Before we begin, welcome to Book Bite, the place where powerful books become life-changing ideas. Today, I want to ask you something. What if the biggest enemy in your life isn't failure, isn't rejection, isn't bad luck? What if it's fear? Think about it. Part 1. The modern man's greatest enemy. How many opportunities have you missed? Not because you weren't capable, but because you were afraid. Afraid of failing, afraid of being judged, afraid of looking foolish, afraid of making the wrong decision, afraid of disappointing other people. Sometimes, we don't even realize fear is making the decision for us. We call it being careful. We call it waiting for the right time. We tell ourselves, I'll start when I'm more confident. I'll speak when I know enough. I'll chase my dream when life becomes less complicated. But somehow, that perfect moment never arrives. Days become months. Months become years. And before we realize it, we're living a life built around avoiding fear instead of pursuing what truly matters. The strange thing is, we live in the safest and most comfortable time in human history. Food is easier to get. Technology solves problems in seconds. Entertainment is available every moment of the day. Comfort surrounds us. And yet, anxiety continues to rise. Stress continues to rise. Overthinking continues to rise. Why? Because comfort doesn't eliminate fear. Sometimes, it quietly strengthens it. The more comfortable we become, the more uncomfortable even small challenges begin to feel. A difficult conversation suddenly feels terrifying. Starting a business feels impossible. Speaking in front of people feels overwhelming. Even sending one honest message can make our hearts race. It's almost as if we've forgotten something our ancestors understood. That courage doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in difficulty. More than 300 years ago, in a world completely different from ours, there lived a group of people who understood this better than almost anyone else. The samurai. At first glance, their lives seem impossible to relate to. They carried swords, lived by strict codes, prepared for battles most of us could never imagine. But if you look beyond the armor, you'll discover something surprising. They struggled with the same thing we do: fear. The difference wasn't that they felt less fear. The difference was that they refused to let fear decide how they lived. Among the many writings left behind by the samurai, one book has continued to challenge readers for centuries. A quiet collection of conversations filled with lessons on courage, discipline, honor, purpose, and what it truly means to live without regret. Its name is Hagakure. But here's what's fascinating. Most people completely misunderstand this book. Some believe it's simply about becoming fearless. Others think it's only about warriors and battle. They're both wrong. Because at its heart, Hagakure isn't teaching us how to die. It's teaching us how to live. A life where fear no longer controls your choices. A life where your character matters more than your comfort. A life where every single day is lived with intention. And strangely, the journey toward that life begins with one idea. An idea so shocking that many people stop reading the moment they hear it. The samurai believed that the secret to living well was to think about death every single day. At first, that sounds dark, even disturbing. Why would anyone choose to think about death every day? Wouldn't that make life more frightening? More depressing? Or could it do the exact opposite? Because once you understand what the samurai really meant, you may never look at fear
why
or
would
life
anyone choose to think about
the
death
same way
every
again.
single day? Here we come to second part. That is, part 2, why the samurai thought about death every day. At first, it sounds completely backwards, even unsettling. We've spent our entire lives trying not to think about death. We avoid talking about it, we avoid reading about it, we avoid even imagining it, as if ignoring it will somehow make it disappear. But the samurai saw something that most of us never do. They realized the more you try to avoid death, the more you begin fearing life. Think about it. How many decisions have you delayed because you believed you had plenty of time? I'll travel someday. I'll call my parents next week. I'll tell them how I feel later. I'll start that business when everything feels safer. I'll finally live the life I want, one day. But that mysterious day keeps moving further away. The samurai believed that this illusion, the illusion of endless tomorrows, was one of the greatest obstacles to truly living. That's why Hagakure contains one of the most misunderstood ideas ever written. The way of the samurai is found in death. Read that sentence without understanding it, and it sounds terrifying. But read it with wisdom, and it becomes one of the most liberating ideas you'll ever encounter. The samurai weren't obsessed with dying. They were obsessed with removing fear. Because once you fully accept that life is temporary, something remarkable happens. Small fears begin to lose their power. Imagine someone criticizes you online. Normally, it ruins your entire day. But if you truly remembered that your time on Earth is limited, would one stranger's opinion really matter that much? Imagine you've always dreamed of starting your own business, but fear keeps whispering, "What if you fail?" Now ask yourself another question. If you knew you only had 1 year left to live, would failure still be the thing you'd fear most, or would you fear never trying at all? This is the shift Hagakure invites us to make. Stop asking, "What if I fail?" Start asking, "What if I never live?" Because in the end, failure is temporary, embarrassment is temporary, rejection is temporary, but a life never fully lived is permanent. The samurai trained themselves to remember death, not to become pessimistic, but to become decisive. Every sunrise became a gift. Every conversation became more meaningful. Every choice carried weight, because they knew something we often forget. The value of time comes from the fact that it's limited. Imagine if sunsets lasted forever. Would anyone stop to watch them? Imagine if flowers never faded. Would they still seem beautiful? Probably not. It's their impermanence that gives them value. And perhaps the same is true for our lives. We don't cherish moments because they last forever. We cherish them because one day they won't. This idea doesn't ask you to become afraid of death. It asks you to become grateful for today, to stop postponing the life you've been waiting to live, to stop assuming that tomorrow is guaranteed. Because the truth is, none of us know how many mornings we have left. Not one. And strangely, that uncertainty isn't meant to frighten us. It's meant to wake us up, to remind us that this ordinary day may not be so ordinary after all. The coffee you almost drank without noticing, the conversation you nearly rushed through, the sunset you were too busy to watch, the people you assumed would always be there. Perhaps these ordinary moments are the extraordinary ones. The samurai understood something profoundly simple. When death is accepted, life becomes precious. When time is limited, every decision matters. And when you stop living as though you have forever, you finally begin living with intention. But accepting death was only the first lesson, because once fear no longer controls your life, a new question appears. If you weren't living for comfort, or approval, or even happiness, then what should you live for? The samurai had an answer, and it was a word that modern society rarely talks about: honor. Part 3. Honor over happiness. So, if the samurai weren't living to avoid death, what were they living for? The answer might surprise you. Not happiness, honor. Today, that word sounds old-fashioned, almost forgotten. When was the last time someone asked you, "Are you living with honor?" Instead, we hear different questions. Are you happy? Are you successful? Are you making enough money? Are people impressed by you? There's nothing wrong with those questions, but Hagakure asks something deeper. Not, how do you feel, but who are you becoming?
Because feelings change. Success comes and goes. Money can be earned and lost. But character is built one decision at a time. Think about it. Imagine two people. The first has everything society admires: a high-paying job, a beautiful house, thousands of followers online. People look at them and think they've made it. The second person lives a much simpler life. They keep their promises. They tell the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. They show up when others need them. They do the right thing, even when nobody is watching. Now ask yourself, which person would you trust? Which person would you want beside you during the hardest day of your life? Because deep down, we all know something. Respect cannot be bought. It must be earned. The samurai understood this better than anyone. For them, honor wasn't a reputation. It wasn't about looking good in front of others. It was about living in a way that allowed you to respect yourself. Because there's a huge difference. Reputation lives in other people's minds. Honor lives in your own. One can disappear overnight. The other stays with you for life. That's why the samurai placed such importance on keeping their word. If they made a promise, they kept it. Not because someone was forcing them, but because every promise broken was also a promise broken to themselves. Think about our lives today. How often do we make promises only to quietly ignore them? I'll wake up early tomorrow. I'll start exercising on Monday. I'll spend more time with my family. I'll stop wasting so much time. Nobody else may notice when we break those promises, but we notice. And little by little, something begins to fade. Trust, not trust from other people, trust in ourselves. Every time we ignore our own values, we teach our minds a dangerous lesson. My words don't really matter. And over time, that becomes our identity. Hagakure offers a different path. Become someone whose actions match their words. Because discipline isn't about controlling your life. It's about keeping the promises you make to yourself. Maybe that's why truly disciplined people seem so calm. They're no longer arguing with themselves every day. They've built an inner agreement. Their mind says, this is what matters, and their actions quietly respond, I know. Honor also means doing what's right even when it's difficult, holding the door open when no one thanks you, admitting you're wrong when blaming someone else would be easier, standing by a friend when everyone else walks away, choosing integrity over convenience. These moments may seem small, but character is never built in dramatic moments. It's built in ordinary ones. One decision, one conversation, one promise, one act of courage at a time. The samurai knew something we've almost forgotten. A meaningful life isn't measured only by what you achieve. It's measured by how you choose to live every single day. And perhaps that's why so many people feel empty after reaching their biggest goals. Because success without character still feels incomplete. But living with honor comes at a price. It often asks us to choose the harder path, to do what's necessary instead of what's comfortable. And that's becoming increasingly difficult, because the modern world has convinced us that comfort is the highest goal. The samurai believed the exact opposite. They believed comfort could become one of our greatest weaknesses. And that's where our next lesson begins.
Part 4. The comfort trap. If honor asks us to choose the harder path, why do so many of us keep choosing the easier one? The answer is simple. Because comfort feels good. Our brains are wired to avoid pain, to conserve energy, to seek safety. Thousands of years ago, that instinct helped us survive. But today, that same instinct often keeps us from truly living. Think about your average day. The alarm rings, you hit snooze. You want to start reading, but you open social media instead. You know you should exercise, but tomorrow sounds easier. You have an important conversation to have, but you tell yourself, maybe another time. One decision doesn't seem like much, but day after day, those small choices begin shaping an entire life. The frightening part is, comfort rarely looks dangerous. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't warn you. It whispers. Just this once. You deserve a break. You can start tomorrow. And tomorrow quietly becomes next week, next month, next year. Until one day, you realize you've spent years preparing to live instead of actually living. The samurai understood something that modern society often forgets. Comfort isn't always a reward. Sometimes it's a trap. Because every time we avoid something difficult, we become a little less capable of facing difficulty. Imagine a blacksmith forging a sword. He doesn't protect the steel from the fire. He places it directly into it, again and again. The intense heat, the repeated strikes of the hammer, the pressure, none of it exists to destroy the sword.
it exists to strengthen it. Human character works in much the same way. Discomfort isn't always the enemy. Often, it's the teacher. Think back to the hardest season of your life. At the time, you probably wished it would end as quickly as possible. But looking back now, didn't it teach you something? Maybe it taught you patience. Maybe it revealed strength you never knew you had. Maybe it changed your priorities. Or maybe it introduced you to a version of yourself you would never have met if life had always been easy. The samurai trained every day, not because every day required a battle, but because they understood something profound. You don't prepare for difficult moments during difficult moments. You prepare long before they arrive. The same is true today. Discipline isn't built on the morning you feel motivated. It's built on the morning you don't. Courage isn't discovered when life is easy. It's revealed when life becomes uncomfortable. Character isn't created by comfort. It's revealed by challenge. And perhaps that's why so many people feel stuck. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, but because they've become addicted to convenience. We scroll instead of thinking. We consume instead of creating. We distract ourselves instead of sitting quietly with our thoughts. Modern life gives us endless ways to escape discomfort, but it rarely teaches us how to grow through it. Hagakure offers a different path. Instead of asking, "What's the easiest choice?" ask, "Which choice will make me stronger?" Sometimes it's making the difficult phone call. Sometimes it's admitting you were wrong. Sometimes it's waking up before the sun, keeping the promise you made to yourself, or simply staying present instead of reaching for another distraction. These moments seem ordinary, but this is where transformation quietly begins. Not through one dramatic decision, but through hundreds of small acts of courage, repeated every single day. Because the person you become tomorrow is being shaped by the choices you make today. The samurai never believed life was supposed to be easy. They believed it was supposed to be meaningful. And meaning almost always asks something of us. It asks for effort, responsibility, discipline, sacrifice. At first, that sounds demanding, but strangely, it's also deeply freeing. Because once you stop chasing comfort, you stop being controlled by it. You begin choosing your actions based on your values, not your feelings. And that's when something remarkable happens. You no longer wake up asking, "What do I feel like doing today?" You begin asking, "What kind of person do I want to become?" Because every choice, no matter how small, is casting a vote for the person you're becoming. But once you've learned to overcome fear, to live with honor, and to stop chasing comfort, one final question remains. If your life is no longer about avoiding pain or pursuing pleasure, then what is it really for? The samurai had a simple answer. Live for something greater than yourself.
So, if life isn't meant to be controlled by fear, if it isn't meant to be spent chasing comfort, then what is it actually for? This may be the most important question Hagakure asks. Part 5, a life of purpose. Because once fear loses its grip and comfort is no longer your highest goal, you're left with something deeper, purpose. Not the kind of purpose we often hear about today. Not becoming famous, not becoming wealthy, not becoming admired. The samurai understood purpose very differently. To them, a meaningful life wasn't built around asking, "What do I want from the world?" It was built around asking, "What can I give to it?" It's a simple shift, but it changes everything. Today, we're constantly encouraged to think about ourselves, my career, my happiness, my success, my goals, my future. And while there's nothing wrong with wanting a better life, a life focused only on ourselves often becomes surprisingly empty. Have you ever noticed something? The happiest moments in life rarely come from buying something new, or receiving another compliment, or reaching another milestone. More often, they come from something much simpler: helping someone who needed you, keeping a promise, protecting the people you love, making someone's difficult day a little easier. Those moments stay with us, because deep down, human beings don't just want pleasure, we want significance. We want to know that our life mattered. The samurai believed that every person should dedicate themselves to something greater than their own comfort. For some, that was serving their family. For others, their community, their craft, their principles, their duty. The object wasn't as important as the commitment itself, because purpose isn't something you accidentally discover one morning.
It's something you choose, again and again, every single day. Think about a tree. It doesn't wonder whether it should grow. It simply reaches toward the light, quietly, patiently, without comparing itself to the trees around it. It fulfills its purpose, simply by becoming what it was meant to become. Perhaps our lives work the same way. Maybe purpose isn't hidden somewhere far away. Maybe it's found in doing today's responsibilities with honesty, in showing up for the people who depend on us, in doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. Hagakure reminds us that greatness is rarely dramatic. It's usually quiet. A parent who works tirelessly for their children, a teacher who changes one student's life, a friend who stays when everyone else leaves, a craftsman who pours their heart into work that may never make headlines. The world celebrates extraordinary achievements. A samurai inspected extraordinary character. Because achievements can disappear, character remains. And perhaps that's why so many people feel lost today. We've been taught to chase success before discovering what success is actually for. We spend years climbing a ladder without asking whether it's leaning against the right wall. Hagakure invites us to pause, not to stop dreaming, but to make sure our dreams are worth dedicating a life to. Because one day, your job title will disappear. Your possessions will belong to someone else. Your accomplishments will slowly fade from memory. But the way you treated people, the promises you kept, the courage you showed, the kindness you offered, the example you set, those things leave a mark long after you're gone. Maybe that is what a meaningful life truly looks like. Not a life where everyone knows your name, but a life where the people who knew you became better because you existed. And perhaps that's the kind of legacy worth pursuing. But eventually, no matter how meaningful our lives become, every journey reaches the same destination. The samurai never feared that moment. Instead, they used it as a compass, a reminder to live so fully that when the end finally arrived, there would be nothing important left unsaid, nothing meaningful left undone. And that's where Hagakure leaves us with its final, and perhaps most life-changing lesson.
So, after everything we've explored, fear, death, honor, discipline, purpose, one final question remains. What does it actually mean to live like a samurai? Part 6. Live so that death has nothing to take. Not with a sword, not on a battlefield, but here, in the middle of ordinary life. The answer is surprisingly simple. Live in such a way that if today were your last day, you wouldn't need to become a different person tomorrow. Think about that for a moment. Most of us live as though we're guaranteed another chance, another Monday, another birthday, another conversation, another year. We assume there will always be more time to apologize, more time to forgive, more time to call our parents, more time to chase the dream we've been postponing, more time to become the person we keep promising ourselves will become. But none of us knows how much time we actually have. And Hagakure doesn't ask us to fear that truth. It asks us to respect it. Because once you truly understand that life is temporary, you stop wasting it. The argument that seemed so important yesterday suddenly feels meaningless. The opinion of strangers loses its power. The fear of looking foolish begins to disappear. You stop asking, "What will people think?" and begin asking, "Will this matter when my life is over?" It's a question that has a strange way of revealing what truly matters. The samurai didn't wake up each morning asking, "How can I be happier today?" They asked, "How can I live today in a way that I won't regret tomorrow?" Imagine waking up tomorrow, knowing with absolute certainty that this was your final day. Would you spend hours scrolling through your phone? Would you keep avoiding that difficult conversation? Would you continue holding on to resentment? Would you stay silent when you wanted to say, "I love you"? Would you keep waiting for the perfect moment? Probably not. Because when time becomes precious, so does every decision. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson hidden inside Hagakure. Death isn't the enemy. A life left unlived is. The greatest tragedy isn't dying. The greatest tragedy is reaching the end of your life, only to realize you spent most of it waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting for permission, waiting for someday, while life quietly passed you by.
The samurai refused to live that way. They understood that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing what matters, even while fear is standing beside you. Maybe that's what true freedom looks like. Not living forever, but living so honestly, so courageously, so completely, that whenever your final day arrives, you can meet it without regret. Before we end, I'd like to leave you with one final thought. Not something to remember, something to carry with you. Imagine that many years from now, someone is telling the story of your life. Not your job title, not your bank account, not the number of followers you had, just your story. What would you want them to say? Would they say, they played it safe, they waited, they worried? Or would they say, they lived with courage, they kept their word, they stood for something, they loved deeply, they left the world a little better than they found it? Because in the end, that may be the only success that truly matters. Hagakure was never really a book about death. It was always a book about life. A reminder that every sunrise is a gift. Every decision shapes your character. Every ordinary day is another chance to become the person you admire. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't ask yourself, how can I avoid discomfort? Don't ask, how can I impress other people? Instead, ask one simple question. If today were the final page of my story, would I be proud of how I chose to live? If the answer is yes, keep walking that path. If the answer is no, the beautiful thing is, tomorrow doesn't have to be different because life changed. It can be different because you did. Thank you for spending these moments with me. And thank you for being part of Book Bite. If Hagakure has taught us anything, it's this. Life was never meant to be measured by its length. It was measured by its depth. So don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait to become fearless. Don't wait for permission to live. Because one day, the clock will stop. The only question is, when that moment comes, will you wish you had lived differently? Until next time, live with courage. Protect your honor. Choose purpose over comfort. And remember, the goal isn't to fear death less. The goal is to love life so deeply that when the end comes, there is nothing important left unlived.